This lesson is on inverse trig functions, and so we're asking ourselves, how can I use trigonometry to find an angle in a right triangle? So what we're doing right here is, normally we are given the angle and we're trying to find one of the sides. This time we are given two of the sides, and what we're going to do is work backwards to find the angle on here. So the first thing we're going to do is, based on the reference angle, what trig function would you use? And then we're going to set up the problem like we would normally do. If you remember back to when we first introduced, this is the symbol theta, so it's a circle with a line through it. Theta is a variable that we use for an angle measure, for a missing angle measure. So that's what we're going to use for this. Also, don't forget SOHCAHTOA. So sine is the word for opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is for adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is for opposite over adjacent. So the first thing when I label this, if my reference angle is over here, I have my hypotenuse is 12, and then I have my adjacent side as 9. So adjacent and hypotenuse, that tells me I'm going to use cosine. So cosine is what I'm going to use. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use our calculator to find the inverse. So before we've used the calculator to find one of the sides, so now we're going to tell our calculator, like, hey, I want to work backwards. So if you notice sine, cosine, tangent, just above where it has cosine with the -1, that's what we're going to be using for the inverse of cosine. And so we're going to have to hit, on these calculators, it's in blue, so once we turn it on, we have to hit, make sure calculator is in degrees mode. So I'm going to go to mode right here and double check, yep, I'm in degrees, and then I can quit out of that. So now I'm going to do cosine with the -1, so I'm going to hit second and then my cosine button. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in the ratio of adjacent over hypotenuse. So adjacent is 9 and my hypotenuse is 12. So this is what I'm going to plug in my calculator. So 9 divided by 12. And so I know my angle is about 41.410. 41.410, because we have to round that 9, that's a 6, so I have to round that 9 up. 9 goes up to 10, so I have a 40 on there. And that is it, that is all you do. So now I want you to pause the video and go ahead and try the next one. So should get somewhere around 60.225 degrees. So we have theta is up in the corner, so we have opposite and adjacent. So that is for SOHCAHTOA. That is tangent, so we're going to be using inverse tangent, so tangent to the -1 of opposite over adjacent, so 7 over 4. And in my calculator, that gives me 60.255. Okay, on the back, we've got a word problem. It says, a ladder leans against a building. So I can draw my building, and then my ladder that leans against it. It says the top of the ladder reaches a point on the building which is 18 feet above ground. So the ladder reaches 18 feet up. So from here to here we have 18 feet. The foot of the ladder is 7 feet away from the building. So the bottom foot is 17 feet, or 7 feet over. Find the measure of an angle at which the ladder makes level with the ground. So with the ground, so theta is going to be over here. So if I realize, so from theta, I have opposite and I have adjacent. So SOHCAHTOA, that's going to be my tangent. So I'm going to do inverse tangent, tangent to the -1. And then I'm going to plug in my opposite over adjacent. So that's 18 over 7. Okay, let's make sure you get this typed into the calculator correctly. So inverse tangent, so second tangent, 18 divided by 7 close parentheses, and I get 68.749. So remember, this is a word problem, so it deserves a word answer. So when it says find the measure of the angle at which the ladder makes level with the ground, so we can say the angle of elevation, so we can use some vocab words. The angle of elevation is about 68.749 degrees. Okay, go ahead and pause the video, and I want you to try these last two problems. So one word problem, and then this is a two-part problem. So you'll have to solve for the shared side, and then you'll have to solve for an inverse for my degrees. So go ahead and pause the video and try it. So I did, on this one, I went ahead and did inverse of tangent. It says a boat has drifted 40 feet away from its anchor, so if it dropped its anchor over here and it moved 40 feet away, and then the water is 57 feet deep from where the anchor was originally dropped, find the angle of depression between the rope and the top of the water. So here's my rope down to my anchor and my top of my water, so here's theta. So opposite over adjacent, I use tangent, and that gave me about 54.941. Again, pause the video and try the next one if you have not already. For the last one, this is a two-part triangle. So this was a regular trig problem, and I found the shared side of the triangles. And so I used tangent for opposite over adjacent, and I got that this side right in the middle was 10.240 in the middle, and then I used that information to solve inverse tangent, because I knew opposite and adjacent on this triangle to find out my x, which is about 63.975 or 63.974, depending on how you rounded. So